Brought to you by Skites.com, your happy place.
Scary movie, dark setting. Hello, children. Ouija, 2016. Prior to this, there was another one. Well, there were a few, but there was another one where it was a bunch of teenagers and they went through some stuff and they were playing with the board and then they got spooked. And I can tell you, this one is way better than that. The story centers around a mom and her two daughters. She's running a seance scam in her house and she's taking in clients to make ends meet. And what ends up happening is her daughter ends up getting possessed by a demon, ends up coming through the Ouija board. I liked these three actors, the mother and the two daughters. I really liked them. They did not give off this futile, cheesy acting. They really came off with this genuinely creepy, in a creepy house, in a creepy town, in the creepy 60s. The entire thing like gave off good creep. Elizabeth Reeser plays the mom, and it's between her and the priest to basically save her daughter from this demon. Then there's Annalise Basso. She plays the older sister. She's one of the people desperately being freaked out by this demon. And another great character is there's a priest in this movie. So the priest is trying to save the youngest daughter, who's played by Lulu Wilson. He's trying to save her from this demon, but the priest adds an extra element of scary. Like when something spooky happens, you bring in the priest. But there's something too spooky about priests, and I don't mean this in like an offensive way. I just mean it in a, if you're dealing with exorcisms, your life is creepy. Let me talk about Lulu Wilson for a second. She's the youngest daughter. She's the one that ends up getting possessed. She did such a good job acting. For a little kid and to be possessed and to not be over CGI, you've got to freak, you've got to naturally freak out the audience. Little mannerisms, just little things that she was doing throughout the movie. Some of the way she was walking, some of the way her head tilting, and then the eyes and her face was super CGI. But some of the stuff she was doing on her own, it gave good scare. I really like how the movie is set in 1965. Because that in itself, there's a lot of things in 1965 now that we just view as creepy. The dolls, like the very old records, some of the music when you go back to that time, it's very haunting. So I thought it was really smart to make this story go back. Another character I really liked is the actor who played the priest, Henry Thomas. He couldn't come off as too much as the savior, and he couldn't come off too much as the hero in the movie, because it wouldn't have worked. But what he did was he provided a really nice foundation, a really nice foundational character in the movie. Because remember, you have this mother who's scamming the town, and then she needs the priest to come help her. So some of that stuff, some of these little intricacies going on in the movie, is kind of funny. I want to talk about some of the pitfalls really quickly. This movie, it's a PG-13 rating. What that means is it seems like they edited out a lot of the stuff that got them to R, but I think a lot of the things that they would have put in this movie, and you could have seen that maybe some of the scenes had set up for them to put in it, which would have given them the R rating, would have made the movie scarier. It probably would have done the movie justice, but they want to hit a certain demographic with this movie, so I think they just opted to cut it, and they did good scary. They went as scary as they could for PG-13, and they did a good job with it. Remember, it's a little girl possessed. It's a little girl possessed, and I know a lot of people will want to compare this movie to The Conjuring. Don't do that. Don't compare it to The Exorcist either. Look at this as its own movie, and look at Lulu Wilson especially. Look at that little girl, how she was acting in it, because some of the things she was doing to her sister, the way she was talking to her, even when she wasn't, there were parts when you couldn't tell within the movie where you were like, is this the part where she's possessed? Is she not possessed this time? Oh, now she's possessed. She gave off creepy. Her creepiness was, she had a scare factor to her that kind of came pretty normally. So the movie did a really good job of build up and anticipation, but then the ending came. And the problem was, I think, when they were writing this movie, and I think too with that PG-13 rating, is when the ending came, it kind of fell off, like there was kind of nowhere for it to go almost. It kind of fell a little flat, because I think that wall that they built was not just a little too high, but there was an arc that went down. You know, that slope where you come down with, it came down a little too fast. So I think if they had built the arc at a certain degree, it would have helped them write out and fix the ending. But the ending, I feel like you're waiting, it's coming, anticipation, creepiness, spookiness, and then it's like, oh. So I think that was the only problem with the movie. The thing is, though, the ending falling off like that didn't ruin the movie. It's still a good, for an hour and 30, it's still a good movie. I was still interested the entire time. I was creeped out. Lulu Wilson is phenomenal. The mother, too, phenomenal. Those three girls were just so good paired with Henry Thomas. The problem was just the ending. It just kind of fizzled. But for if you're gonna give me an hour 25 of good stuff and then just 5 minutes of kind of flatness, I can kind of live with that. But if there's a second part, if there's another version, if there's a part 2, I would really like them to craft that ending better. So who's going to see this movie? Anybody that wants to be legitimately scared for Halloween. This is not Medea Goes Boo. This is Ouija. But if you want to see something scary for Halloween, yes. I don't think it was as scary as The Conjuring. I still think The Conjuring has this one beat. But for what they did, remember they're retelling a whole different story, doing something, you know, different than The Conjuring. They didn't want to even try to replicate, you know, The Exorcist because you're your own movie. So they did a good job of that. So for what it was, you're freaked out, but you're scared and you're creeped out, but you're not completely freaked out for an hour 25. But again, too, that goes back to this rating, and I do really feel like they wanted to bring in a lot of teenagers with this movie, and they just wanted to hit like a certain level of scare, but they didn't want to freak anybody out. So that's what I think they're going for in this movie. So what is the demographic? I think like 16 to 35 is who they're aiming for. Probably will, actually, it is a horror. They're going to classify it as a horror. That's fine. Anybody who's into horrors, but again, it's not as completely terrifying as some of the others. So on a scale, let's see, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do I give this movie? I give it a solid 8. It's good. I would like them to sacrifice that rating and go even further and then rewrite the ending. But the actors I was so pleased with the actors and most of the writing, you know, the first 2.5 acts, it's just that third final act, the ending of the movie, it just kind of is, it's like, you know, you open the fizzy pop and then it fizzles. It fizzles a little too fast, but I think that's because of the arc of the writing. They needed to plan that out just a little bit better. Otherwise, it was good. I really enjoy it. It's good Halloween. So let me know if you're going to see this one, and let me know what you think. But that actress, that Lulu Wilson, yes. All right, you guys. So that's it for me. It's got the greatest show on earth. Live long and prosper. Talk to you later. Bye. Poke. Poke.